Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Strife's Sanctum. My name is Citizen Strife, and this week I'm going back into anime again. And this one was one I just about a month or so ago watched and really enjoyed, despite trying it one time when it came out, or say trying a show for the first time, not really getting it grabbed, not having it grab me. And then going back to something a year or so later saying, hey, I'll give this a second shot. And I've said this before. There are some shows that I've given multiple tries to, and for some reason or another, they just never stick. I'd say the most obvious one to me would be like Chrono Crusade. Like, I've tried it like multiple times, and every time I do it, I just can't seem to get through the thing. Other times have been stuff like Trinity Blood or some of the things that I tried and just for some reason or another I got like halfway through an episode and it just didn't work. Snow White with the red hair was something I tried, and I watched an episode and thought, I'll try this some other time. Because there's always reasons why something may or may not work. You may not be in the mood for a certain type of show, the aesthetics, the actors, the style, the plot, whatever. And I think at the time, I was kind of shelving this as, yeah, this could be okay, but I don't want it that style or something like that. So I tried something else. I forget what I ended up watching, because my mode, unless it's really, really, really something I want to watch, like a thing I've seen before, my picking of shows tends to be at random and scattershot. I tend to look at things from as basic a perspective as possible, and I say, okay, I'm trying this for the first time, or I've heard it around, but I don't really care about it. I didn't read up on it. I don't know what the fuck. Let it surprise me. And that's not something I can do with video games because I have to pay for it much. But with a subscription, I can sit there and go, I'll try that. And this was one of those ones that at the time I just wasn't into. But then I gave it a shot like late last year, and it was all right. I was pleasantly surprised how much it kept my attention, knowing that there are better, but there are a lot worse. And there are a lot of shows like that where nothing is going to be anything that's just going to sit there and go nuts, but it's going to be something that you're going to remember, and you're going to be like, oh, okay, this was worth spending a couple of days or a couple of weeks watching. And, whether it ended to my satisfaction or, had the best moments all the time, this was still something that I remembered. And Snow White with the red hair was certainly something that I will remember as being a pleasant experience. And sometimes that's all you really want from something, is something to pass the time and something you to think, yeah, this was just what I wanted. And I think this is exactly what you'd expect it to be. And maybe sometimes a little bit more, just peeking over the horizon just enough. So, what is Snow White with the red hair? Well, it's a show about Shirayuki, voiced by Brina Palencia. And Brina, for those unaware, has been in voice acting forever, basically. But I'm trying to remember, like Yuno Gasai from Future Diary. She's been in Vanitas. She was Holo from Spice and Wolf. I've talked about her a lot, so I know how good she is. Anyway, in this, Shirayuki is just a nice, pleasant herbalist, potion maker, you name it. And it's not an isekai, so that's nice, because we don't have enough of those. It actually is set in a fantasy world by default, which is a plus. So Shirayuki is basically notorious because of her hair. And it's kind of funny because that's like all anybody seems to know, and she tends to hide it because she's in a world known as Tanbarun, and she just keeps to herself, and she knows what she's doing as far as making potions and herbs and whatever, and she runs a little shop and things are going well. But every time somebody mentions it, and I don't even know if it's just red hair in general, it's just the fact that it's, very, very bright red hair. The best way I would describe Shiryuki is the same way I would describe Chisei from Ancient Magus Bride, except like upbeat, if that makes any sense. Because that's really where I'm coming from with this. If you've watched Ancient Magus Bride and you kind of understand that Chisei is way more, like, maybe not knowledgeable, but lucky, but also, like, strong-willed and determined and doesn't take shit. And that's kind of the vibe I get from Shiryuki and everything she's doing. And that resonates because there are a lot of shows like that. I watched a show, was it Why Liliana Was in the Duke's Mansion or something like that? That was another good one. Where a female character, Arte, I just recently watched, Arte is the same idea. There's a lot of these shows where female characters are either because of society or just because the show wants them to be set in that sort of environment. Women are looked down upon, and the show goes out of its way to basically tell you, no, these people are smart. These people are determined. They know how to get through situations. And Shiryuki ends up getting caught in a weird little situation with a prince who is just a scrub lord person. He ends up changing as the show goes along, but mostly due to just interactions with her. But at first he tries to force the situation, and then she ends up getting saved by the other main character, Zen, who is a prince of another nation, Clarinez, the second prince. And therein lies the whole tagline. It's basically a love story. And you kind of know what it goes to. But I also enjoy the fact that despite that the show will try and show different people getting involved in Shiryuki's life for one way or another, slowly it becomes hey, they're breaking barriers. Hey, this person's actually smarter than they think she is. This person actually has a reason. The idea of chemistry. And I've said before that romance shows don't always jive with me, but there are times where I sit there and go, okay, I believe that these people would actually make sense. Because it does come down to chemistry. And when you only have, a couple other characters, a lot of them just aids to Prince Zen, it's just kind of like, well, how do you make a 24 episode show that really just boils down to this woman has red hair. She's in sort of love with this prince who's also in sort of love with her. And they're trying to break down barriers, but she's also something, herbalist, something, whatever. So they spend their time doing enough, court drama, noble drama, stuff like that. They show that Shiryuki's able to kind of get her way out of weird kidnapping situations and figuring out little diseases and things, how she's able to overwork herself to find solutions. All the while, you never get this sense that Prince Zen doesn't respond to this character. They always are in the back of each other's minds, but it's never like overtly forced. Because you don't need a show to be a harem show just for the sake of being a harem show. I've seen a lot of shows lately where they'll pile on extra female characters because, it's so great. Looking at you, Shield Hero, you suck. You can tell I've kind of dropped Shield Hero, so I'm not gonna keep going with that. I was gonna, even after the second season, and then I watched like 3 or 4 episodes of Shield Hero 3, and I was just like, no, you lost me. The solution to a lot of lesser shows' problems is to, hey, pile on the harem until it's done. And I talked about this with the Tenchi thing. It's like, there's only so much you can do if you're trying to make a harem show out of everything. Goblin Slayer has that problem too. It's like, not everybody's gonna be involved with Goblin Slayer. He doesn't care. He's in there to kill goblins. So it's like, what the fuck? But that's why I kind of like this in the sense that, hey, you kind of know who these characters and are going to get together or are together or will be together. So how do they pass the time in 24 episodes? A lot of it has more to do with whatever other male options are available, like this Prince Raj. It's more about him finally understanding that, hey, this person is telling you to man the fuck up and stop being such a dork. Stop being such a petty, narcissistic, lazy asshole and start doing things for yourself. So he finally starts to grow a pair. Another person who is her aide, basically, most times protector, because he's in this assassin dude. Let me see if I remember his name. I wrote it down. Yeah, Obi, voiced by Austin Tyndall. He was Knives in the Trigun Stampede show. Obi is just kind of there, I think, sort of violent at first, and then sort of like, hey, I order you to protect this girl because she doesn't fight, so he just does like reconnaissance missions and junk. But even he slowly starts to think, okay, I like her a lot, but it never like develops into, the push-pull bullshit. I kind of like that. I kind of like the fact that under no circumstances does the anime ever devolve into a full-on harem. Because if you wanted to watch that sort of thing, you just watch something better like quintuplets or Tenchi or something like that. Sometimes a show can just be a show about two people who like each other. Amazing concept, I know. But again, there's multiple different ways that Shirayuki finds a way to overcome situations. And a lot of it is done through words and talking and thinking through, okay, what is her situation providing her with? She has to take a test to become a royal court herbalist. So she does all these little things, and she does it herself. That's another thing that I find is important, especially for shows like this that have that sort of like, I don't want to say if it's female empowerment. I would say it's just a personal determination. It's, I'm going to do all this shit myself, whether I'm working myself to death or not, and nobody's going to stop me, and nobody's going to tell me that I'm wrong. But she's never snarky about it. She never overcomes being just a nice person, but it's never like overly nice. It's that kind of gripping charisma where that in spite of all the bullshit, there's a determination at play where she's not going to try and be snarky. She's not going to try and overstep her boundaries unless it's merited and warranted. And I think the show balances well enough all of its little things. All of the characters get their little snide comments here and there, and it never feels... There's always a sense that sometimes there's a show that's so basic that even the writing can't save it. This is one of those where I think the writing is good enough that, yeah, you know what these characters are, but it never feels like they're not there, or that the actors themselves are just reading a line. It does feel like they're trying, despite it being very basic. And I've said this about shows like Ascendance of a Bookworm, which I still think is better, but there's only so much you can wring out of certain material. But I think there's enough there that it's like, it's not trying to be a dark show. It's not trying to be a depressing show. It's not trying to be anything more than it's trying to be. And at the end of the day, that's what it tries to do and succeeds at doing. It's not going to be anybody's favorite, but it's not going to be anybody's worst either. It's going to hold itself up there because you know what you're getting, and it never like falters. Because there's a lot of things that either start bad but get better, or they start, good, or they get really, 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 really annoying and bad. Like in Shield Hero, Psychopaths 2, shit like that. Things that could have been so amazing and then fumbled. This is in that just sweet spot of, if I like this show, I'm just probably gonna like it. It might be someone's situation where maybe I don't want to stand 24 episodes of something very, very basic. But if you end up getting invested in the two main characters, I think there's enough there for their personalities and their chemistry that you can understand, hey, this is the sort of show that I'd like right now. I think I could work with this, and I want to have fun with it. So I found it a pleasant enough experience. So would I recommend Snow White with a red hair? Yes and no. It's one of those things where you know what you're getting, and if you want to be surprised, or you want to be in a spectacle or something like that, no. If you want something that you just look at it and go, This is exactly what I think this thing's gonna be. Let's see how it goes. It ends up being what you want it to be. So if you end up being in the mood for a romance show or a slight drama / comedy, then this will suffice. And there's nothing wrong with that. Not everything I recommend is going to be this amazing, life-changing experience. But not everything has to be. Sometimes you just want something to be good. And this worked enough. But that'll do for this week. This one was a nice short one for me. And let's see what I'm going to do next. So, I've already recorded Soul Hackers 2 because I recorded that out of order for some reason. So this will be, at time of recording, this will be next week's episode. There will be 86, the 86th division. Sonic the Hedgehog 2. It's been a while since I did that. Radiant Historia. What I talked about before, Arte, another one that's exactly what you think it would be. The Wandering Witch, The Journey of Elaina. I'm happy to have rewatched that for sure. Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, that one's been a long time coming. And the Konosuba Megumin spinoff. Almost in line and in time for the new season of Konosuba to come out. I will safely say I really, 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 really hope that the mainline Konosuba is better than the spinoff was, because that was kind of yeah. Anyway, that'll do it for me, and I'll see you guys next time. Citizen Strife, signing off.